Everybody, and good morning. Thank you all for being here bright and early. I know I saw many of you at karaoke last night. Thank you for making the trip back in. I would like to acknowledge once again that this year's event is being held on the traditional territory of the Nanwakolas First Nation. I hope everybody enjoyed the program yesterday. It was so great to see many of you at the Res Dog Walkers reception at the Coast Hotel. And thank you very much to the sponsor of this morning's networking and nutrition break, Capacity Forest Management. Once again, just a brief safety share. If anything goes wrong, please exit to the clear glass staircase at the front lobby and then head towards the muster point in front of the casino across the street. And now I'd like to welcome back up to the stage our conference chair, Dallas Smith, to provide some opening remarks today. Let's give him a warm welcome.
Thanks, buddy. Where it began. Anyone who was there last night? Nice. That didn't go over like I thought it would, Logan. Someone will play the video later and then it'll be like, oh, that's what he meant. Here we go, final day. There's been so much absorbed, there's been so much given, and the energy that has remained in this room, even after a long day yesterday, a really long night last night. Since I turned 50 and had my third child, I just really don't do after midnight much anymore. So I'm not going to apologize for being a little shaky this morning, but that's part of what it is. We went out and a lot of us had a really good time, and there was some singing, some dancing, just jovial nature, and everybody made it home safe. So it was a great evening. As we head into the final stretch today, I think some of the things that I've been picking up from this is, again, everybody's trying to head in the right direction. I think we're learning about the accountability that it takes not only to each other but to society to do these projects properly, to build these relationships properly. And we've also started talking about what do we do as those relationships start to fracture, they have challenges, they have impediments and obstacles. I could talk about 4 or 5 different things from our own personal experience at Nanwakolas Council. We bought a forest tenure. Never buy a forest tenure. Once you buy, it's like having a boat. It's always good to have a friend with one. But now we're dealing with all these new challenges of not only being rights and title holders, but landowners in some aspects. And there's markets that have to be met. There's employee relations that have to be managed. It's no secret to most people, it's been in the press. We're in a union strike in the TFL that we bought right now. And some of the issues that we need to keep to work through get a little bit more challenging when lines get drawn in the sand. But that's the process that you have to go through. It's not like the old days when you drew a line in the sand and it just meant immediate confrontation. A line in the sand today now is sort of saying, I've gone to a point that I'm not comfortable going past anymore. And it's going to take dialogue and it's going to take understanding to try to figure out whether you go around the line, whether you go through the line, or whether you work until you erase the line. So these are some of the things that we need to think about. It's one thing to start the relationship, but how you manage it and keep it going is so vital to the success. Because when we do it properly, so many people prosper from it. We had a chance to talk about aquaculture with the Premier yesterday. He didn't like that. He didn't like that at all because it's a challenging discussion. But to the 750 Indigenous workers, mostly women, who work in these fish plants and these fish farms and these aquaculture sites, it matters. To the 7,000 British Columbians who depend on this industry, the $1.6 billion in GDP that come out from it, this all matters. So whether it's comfortable or not, we have to sit down and have these discussions. The grown-ups in the room have to continue to grow and lead these discussions in a place to go, so it's easier for those who come behind to get there. So I really want people to leave this just thinking about not only how do you build the relationship, but how do you build it to last? Because that's really what it's about. Now we're talking about equity positions. That's how you build something to last. An equity position with a First Nations partner makes your problems mutual. And that's one of the things that was a pipe dream even 10 years ago. None of us had equity positions in anything. Right now, the 2 biggest tenure holders on Vancouver Island are the Huu-ay-aht First Nation and the Nanwakolas Council. The only forest operations getting all their cuts out are the Huu-ay-aht and the Nanwakolas Council, because we've built the relationships to get through. Now we have a strike in front of us. We still have a cut to get out. We still have customers. We still have jobs and employment that need to be kept. So we just have to find ways of working through these issues. And while it is a challenging discussion, I look forward to working through some of those issues because it's got to start somewhere. And there was a lot of talk yesterday about the role of government in these discussions. Some say they should referee. Some say they should stay the hell out of the way. It's a little bit of all the above. Each of these relationships are unique, and they're going to take different points of contact. They're going to take different points of momentum to push them through some of these challenging times. And we have challenging times in front of us. The crazy man down south has made it clear that we're going to have to work really hard to rebuild certainty in North America, in the world for that matter. And I know from the work that we're doing in conservation that we have been able to show the role for Indigenous people in maintaining that balance. And that voice is getting out there. There's something in the world called projects for permanence. Those are massive protection areas that have economic opportunities in them, but they also have United Nations level of protection. That's where the 30 by 30 commitment comes from. There's 11 of those processes in the world right now. 2 of them have been negotiated in the Great Bear Rainforest, one for the terrestrial side, and we're going to talk about the carbon project that came out of that a little bit this morning, but then there's one that came out of the marine protected area side that we announced with Prime Minister Trudeau last June. But as I said in my opening comments the other evening, we can protect all the land and resources that we need. We can protect all the watersheds. It hasn't built one house for elders. It hasn't built one treatment center that's so badly needed across the board, not even just in First Nations communities anymore. We've got homeless people in Port Hardy. It's a town of 3,000 people that used to have 94% employment. We've got homeless people there now. So whatever we were doing before wasn't working. And the introduction of Indigenous people into this economy is what it's going to take to build that certainty and balance. People have fought that for a long time. In the early days of Indigenous rights and title discussions, companies started hiring First Nations advisors. But those advisors' job was to limit the impact of First Nations rights and title on those businesses. Now businesses are seeing the light and they're saying, how can we hire someone who's going to help us make it better and make it work and make it collaborative where the certainty actually builds itself into the model? So those are just some of the things that I know I've been thinking about over the last couple days, no, really over the last couple years as I've been doing this journey. And this conference on a yearly basis has been an awesome opportunity to check in to see, are we raising the roof or is it better to just keep raising the floor? And I think if we continue to just raise the floor, we're going to get a lot more done than trying to raise the roof one project at a time. So those are just some things I'd like people to think about as we go through the last part of the day. And I'd like to bring my brother Logan up. Let's give Logan a round of applause because the man was in the hospital like 14 hours ago. Oh, wait, one more. People have been asking about, sorry, Logan. People have been asking about the Res Dog Walker stuff. We do have a pile of sweaters and some stuff at the front check-in desk, and they're by donation for the charities that Nanwakolas Council supports. So if you'd like a Res Dog sweater, I'm not sure what sizes we got left there, but there is some Res Dog stuff. I was going to say crap, but it's not crap. But there's some Res Dog Walker stuff out there. Please, by donation, first come, first serve, and I really appreciate the support. Kayla Kessler.